Welcome to another lesson. I guess this is Linux server tutorials. I'm your host Zach, and today we're going to be taking a look at how to mount devices. All right. So a little beforehand, I have a colleague of mine who has the domain overworked admin, and he playfully asked me to change my domain, and so I did so. So I'm now posting everything to linuxservertutorials.com. Same old, same great content, same great taste. Anyways, moving forward with mounting devices, we mount devices like USB flash drives. We mount hard drives, network shares, and this will happen occasionally, especially if you're working in an enterprise environment and you need to mount SANs or any other type of network share. Um, Connecting the device to a directory with the file system is called mounting. When you are in the desktop, this process is typically automatic. If you're in Windows, it's definitely automatic. However, from the command line, we're going to mount them manually. And so before we dive right in, a drive is a device that's added to the server. A partition is created from that drive to allow the manipulation of that partition. Um, Drives can be represented any number of ways, such as HDX for IDE, SDX for SCSI, and then the partition is going to be like SDX1 or HDX2, etc., etc. So what we're going to do here is I have plugged in a USB drive, a very old, very small 512 that I've had forever, and we are going to add it here real quick if I can remember. Removable drives Geek Squad. That's how old it is. So we connect. It's about to be unplugged. Yep. And there. So we can see that it's adding something here, assuming drive cache right through. It sees a new drive. So we go into dmessage, print all that, and as you can see here, you can see that it's recognizing the USB drive. It's like, oh, USB, and we're going to add it. So you can see it added SDC and it made a partition SDC1. So what we do is fdisk cul dev SDC, and you can see here it's the device, where it starts in the block, where it ends in the block, how many blocks it is. As you can see, it's kind of tiny. It's like 512 megs, and the type of file system it's on there. It's FAT32. It's very, very old. Alright, so now that we've added it and we know where it's where it's writing to, we are going to mount it. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a directory called mount USB. So we do that. So we do ls mount. You can see we have USB there. So we go and we mount dev SDC. We want to mount the partition to mount USB. Hit enter, and then we go and cd into mount USB and ls. And as you can see, I created a directory called hello world in there. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can check to see if it's mounted or not. First of all, if you see directories and files in there, you know it's mounted. A better way is doing a df-h. As you can see here, you have dev SDC, and it's mounted to /mount/USB. Another way you can do it, and this df-h does it in an easily readable format, but another way is you just do mount. And a mount will do all the currently mounted partitions on the operating system. As you can see here, dev SDC on mount USB, and the file type is vfat, and it's read write. All right. So now you want to get rid of it. You do umount -dev SDC and then mount USB. Oh look, the device is busy. The device is busy because we're in it right now. It sees that it's actively being used. So let's get out of it. Try that again. And as you can see, it's gone. And we go into mount, and it's gone. So that pretty much tells you how to mount and unmount uh, partitions and drives in Linux. We're going to be working more with storage devices later on when we are managing logical volumes and whatnot, but that's definitely a lot later on. So a couple of things you should know, and we'll cover this again at a later date. Let's mount this guy again. Alright. So another some useful commands, if you do block ID, mount USB. Oh, sorry. Block ID dev SGC1. It will give you a UUID and a label. And what you can do, and block ID is useful because what you can do is you can take that, and I'm not going to actually write it in here, but I'm just going to show you. You can take that UUID and you can mount it. You can use it to mount to anywhere. As you can see here, the UUID for the that particular partition is directed to root. So that way, when you do it this way, the UUID makes sure that the mapping is more static. So if anything changes on the back end of your partition table, as long as the UUID remains the same, you're never going to lose mount on reboot. And we put things in FSTab. I call it FSTab. Anyways, we put it in there so that everything persists on reboot. And so that's one of the other reasons we do it. So that's really a good thing to know right there. Dmessage tells you all sorts of stuff about different partitions. If you want to grab different like SD, as you can see here, we have a bunch of. I've been doing this a bunch of times, so you see a bunch of adding and removing here. If you just want to do fdisk, this just lists all the different partitions and the partition tables here. As you can see, I have two different partitions on SDB, and you can see where it's mounted to, things like that. Anyways, so that concludes mounting. Like I said, we'll get more into storage later on. Have a nice day.